Hello all, and not a wrestling video. No, this will be a movie slash comic book slash I don't know video. I went and saw uh, Man of Steel, the new Superman movie, uh, today, and I had lots of thoughts on it. So I wanted to come on and kind of share my thoughts, because everyone else has been sharing their thoughts on it, and just kind of what I thought of the movie as a whole. Most of you probably know I'm a pretty big comic book fan. Not necessarily a big Superman comic book fan, but probably I think the first Superman comic I ever picked up would have been Superman Man of Steel #1, done by John Byrne, which was kind of a relaunch of Superman back in the 80s. And that probably been the first thing of Superman I ever remember reading. May have read some stuff before then, but that's really the only thing I can actually remember reading. But of course, before then I had seen the Donner Superman films, which I love to death, and I think most people do. So it wasn't a big deal to me when Bryan Singer, when he did Superman Returns, he based his movies off the first two Donner films, and I was absolutely fine with that. I don't hate that movie as much as some people do. I don't think it's a great movie by any stretch of the imagination, but there were parts of the movie that I thought were good, and there were parts of the movie I thought were stupid, i.e. Super Baby. But all of that stuff. But anyways, I didn't get to see this when it first came out, of course. So I waited a while, and then, of course, all of the reviews started coming in, and everyone started bitching about certain things. And so I was going to see it anyways, so I went and saw it, even though there were people that I knew had similar beliefs that I did on Superman that did not enjoy this movie very much. And so I was like, but I still went and saw it. So I went and saw this movie. I went and saw Superman, and did not enjoy it. In fact, I was bored through most of this movie. Now, I know a lot of people, at least the people that even said they didn't like it, thought it was enjoyable for a, summer blockbuster, popcorn flick. I even have a guy I follow on Twitter, Rock, and he compared it to Transformers. And after I saw the movie, I kind of called him out on it, and I said, the thing is, though, that all the Transformer movies, and I've seen them all, and they're not great cinema by any stretch of the imagination. That said, there are moments in those movies, every single one of them, no matter how stupid they are, there's still moments in which you geek out. And I don't mean just kind of like, ooh, that was cool. I mean like full on, wow, thank you for putting that in the movie, geek out. There was zero of these moments in the movie, in Man of Steel. I can't even think of a moment where someone would go, wow, thank you for putting that in the movie. And that's not a good thing. Now, the movie has made tons of money, and that's a great thing, because this, of course, is DC's kind of answer to Marvel. Not that Batman wasn't, but this is supposed to launch into what we eventually will get into a Justice League movie. After Avengers did, a buku cash, they're like, oh, we want in on this deal, so let's do that. Now, problem is, the superhero movies before now, except for Batman, you had Jonah Hex, which was, yeah, go ask Nightmare Balla what he thinks of Jonah Hex, and he's a Jonah Hex fan. Also, go ask him what he thinks of Green Lantern movie. Yeah, that wonderful piece of cinema, and all of those types of things. So DC decided, okay, Warner Brothers said, okay, we're going to release a Superman movie. And this will be the start, they've said this, to lead to a Justice League movie, which will apparently have Darkseid in it, which is a good thing, kind of. So, we're supposed to get this, we're supposed to get maybe a Flash movie, maybe another Green Lantern movie, definitely a Wonder Woman movie, and this is supposed to lead to that. So there was some universe building that needed to kind of take place in this movie, and there was zero of it. I think I may have saw a LexCorp truck is the only thing I really remember seeing. There might have been some other stuff, because I'm not a diehard DC fan, that I may have missed out on. But that's really the only thing I saw that made me think, okay, maybe there's other things going on. And that's not good. The first, going back, if you look at Iron Man. And that's what this movie is supposed to be, kind of like the launching point, the same way Iron Man was to Avengers. This is meant to be the launching point to a Justice League movie. There was universe building throughout the movie. And then at the end credits, we got the big, ooh, yes, we're in one universe type of thing with Nick Fury. But there was other things during the movie which made you think, okay, there's other things going on. Then you had Hulk. And there were things in the Hulk movie that meant, okay, there's a bigger universe out there. Then you had Thor, which was hit over, you know, not probably as bad as Captain America was probably the biggest of, here we go, we're getting ready. They called it the first Avenger for a reason, and here we go. You know, Thor had, you know, a big part of Thor had to do with, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. And S.H.I.E.L.D. was kind of the glue that brought everything kind of together. There was none of that in this movie, and that's not good. And as my friend Rock also pointed out, which I pointed out as well, there was no universe building for Superman either. First Superman movie, I understand you don't want Lex Luthor to be the hero or the villain. So, and the spoilers for anyone who's not seen it, this is gonna be spoiler written. This isn't a review of the movie. This is me talking about the movie. When they have Superman and they're getting ready to, you know, they got all the scientists and everybody. Where's Lex Luthor? Why isn't he there? Why didn't they bring him in? Why would, you know, imagine this line. They bring in, you know, bring in the baby rocket. There's the baby rocket with all of this advanced stuff on it. There's Lex Luthor looking at it. And it's just some line that, you know, we're going to, you know, I'm going to, you know, send $1 trillion in profit, you know, off to save the world. And then someone say, well, you know, you're saving the world. Yeah, but it's $1 trillion in profit. You know, that sort of thing. And you build up the fact that maybe this guy isn't, you know, such a nice guy, but maybe he is the greatest human mind there is. And that he is, you know, you set up the fact that, yes, maybe he is the equal to Superman in some regards. And you set that up for something further down the road. So I understand they didn't want to necessarily do Lex Luthor again as the villain because that would have been, you know, kind of boring. Even though I think they should have done Lex Luthor working with Intergang, and then at the end of the movie, you have the head of whoever you want Intergang to be, goes back to Apocalypse and goes, okay, this is what happened, and you get Darkseid, and then come Justice League, we get the invasion. So there we go. So we got none of that. No Amanda Waller, which you would think at some point might show up if there's an alien or some sort of thing like that. Didn't happen. There's a point in the movie where you can say, you know what, the Green Lantern movie, that never happened. So, ooh, look, we have guys that are flying fighter jets. Hey, what if one of those guys happens to be Hal Jordan? Wow, that was hard, wasn't it? And other things like that, where you just, you start seeding the info that, hey, we're leading to something bigger. There was none of that in this movie, and that's not very good. And as I said, it really didn't build up anything for Superman either. There was just not a lot of, I mean, there was, you know, there was the Lana Lang thing, which was okay, but that was pretty much it. And yeah, so there's the start. Now, my problems with this movie probably start right away. We go to Krypton. This is a Krypton like I've never seen. I did not like de-evolution isn't the right word, but the, you know, the fact that, you know, Jor-El is riding around on a pterodactyl was not something that blew my mind away. The fact that, okay, well, they open the movie with a birth, and then we find out, oh, by the way, Kryptonians don't give birth like that. They're in birthing tubes, or chambers, like in the Matrix. And you would think, you know, just, I don't know, that if that was the case, wouldn't everyone be sterile? You would maybe think. I don't know. But we find that out. The whole, you know, him having all of the DNA of all of Krypton, and he was going to, you know, and he was sent to Earth so that, you know, they could combine the two races. That was a little for me. But yeah, the Krypton stuff did nothing for me at all. Then, you know, the flashback scenes were okay. The one when he was a little kid at school, that was cool. The one where he saved everyone, I wasn't really all that big into that, because it was like, eventually if that was if that was going on, he would have gotten found out before Lois Lane shows up, and I will get into Lois Lane because that's the biggest faux pas of this movie, and not her herself, but you'll understand. But it was just kind of like, okay, wouldn't someone have told by now that there's something wrong with him? And apparently everyone knows. There was rumors that everyone knew there was something wrong with him. So there was that. The fact that, they didn't really explain what he was doing in Alaska, where he found out, ooh, wait, there's some sort of alien thing maybe in the ice, and he shows up and, goes and finds the alien thing, and I guess the alien thing is supposed to be the Fortress of Solitude, except that they end up destroying the Fortress of Solitude, so I don't know. That bothered me. The fact that Jor-El was, not like in the Donner films or in Returns, where he's just kind of there, as a hologram, and giving, kind of cryptic advice. The fact that he was throughout the whole movie and he actually kind of helped save the day, I wasn't really into that either. The fact that, Superman just didn't do any, he did a couple of Superman type things, but it was never that, wow, Superman. Near the end he did. But there was still none of that, just wow. Of course, the big thing everyone was complaining about is that he, at the end, spoiler, kills General Zod, which, I was like, he kills him? Ugh. Then I watched the movie, I'm like, okay, this isn't such a bad thing. He killed him because he actually had to kill him. And the fact that he was very, he regretted doing it. You could tell he didn't want to do it. I like that. That's what Superman should be about. The other thing that Superman should have been about that we didn't get in this movie, we got a little bit, but not enough. It should have been where, because there were soldiers and there was the military. At some point, those guys should have, and they did to an extent, but it should have been, you know what? We're gonna help him fight. We're going to, in some regards, he's going to inspire us to do great and wondrous things. And I guess you could say that near the end with how, they delivered the bomb, maybe, but I don't know about that. So that's one thing. But then you have probably the biggest problem I have with this movie, and that is the fact that if you go back and you watch the Donner films, and you go back and you watch Superman Returns, all the things that Superman Returns got wrong, the one thing it got right, without question, was there was, kind of that romance between Superman and Lois Lane, Clark and Lois, that whole thing. This movie, it felt, to say forced wouldn't even be the right word, because there was no romance. There was kind of hand-holding, but there was no point in which you were to believe that, okay, why did she just instantly fall in love with this guy? What was it about him? What was it while she was researching him? Which, by the way, she figures out who he is in the movie. And then he shows up at the Daily Planet at the end. I didn't like that either. I was just like, wow, really? Why even have him be Clark Kent at that point? Because it's not gonna work. But the fact that there is none of that. There was more of a, I shouldn't say more. It was probably on the same level of a love story that we saw in Thor, which there was a hint of one, but it was more of like a flirtation. It wasn't a full-on just, oh my god, love story. That's part of the Superman story. Today, now back in the day, it really wasn't, but in today's world, yes, that's a big part of the mythos. That's a big part of the story, is the love story. It's one of the reasons why the Donner film works so well, because they put time into, him, flying around with her, them going on a date that wasn't a date in the first film. The fact that, he saves her and then, she's infatuated with him. All of those things, and the fact that she is this standoffish, unattainable woman who he's the only one that she's attainable to. All of that sort of stuff, and that's just not in the movie. They kiss at the end, and it's kind of like, where did that come from? Really? It just, like I said, I didn't like the movie at all. I really didn't. I could go without ever seeing it again and probably be okay. Um, and I don't mean that to say it's a bad film. I think it's an okay movie. It's definitely, if I were to list the best superhero films I've ever seen, um, it would be, you know, it would be down there. That's not a lie. I mean, and I would, and there's stuff that I throw into superhero films that other people don't, like Darkman. I would put Darkman above this, the first one, because I think it's more enjoyable. But there was, I mean, really, you know, the first Hulk movie, the Ang Lee Hulk movie, to me this is about on that level, and and now, like I said, I'm glad that it has success. I'm glad that DC and Warner Brothers got what they wanted. But the movie didn't give me any hope that they are still that if they do another character, it's gonna sell. But particularly, a character like Wonder Woman, who doesn't have a movie history. A movie like The Flash. A movie like, let's see, who else? Flash, Green Lantern. They do an Aquaman movie. I have no faith that they'll be able to do anything with an Aquaman movie. And the really kind of sad part about this is the this was based on a lot of stories, but this visually, the story that this had a lot of based on, and kind of the story I would say most similar to, is one of my favorite Superman stories, which is even though I don't think it's in my top 5 that I put up on YouTube, which is Birthright. Um, it's my favorite origin of Superman. It's so much better than Secret Origin, so much better. And so much better than Secret Origin. And it's really good. And they took a lot of the stuff from here. And I almost wish they would have made that into a movie. Just made Birthright flat out, because it would make an awesome movie, particularly the end, because the end has a crazy wild twist, which it's really good up until that point, and then it's like awesome up to that point, and then it's got this weird wacky twist, and you're like, wow, where the fuck did that come from? That's awesome, and it makes sense, and it works, and all of that stuff, and it's just not what we got, and that's unfortunate. I've probably gone on long enough about this, but yes, I didn't enjoy the movie very much. I really didn't. I'm glad that there are people out there that enjoyed it. I'm glad that it's making money, because hopefully we get more comic book movies out of it. But it doesn't give me any hope that DC, is on the right path of making these movies. To be completely honest, it doesn't. It bothers me. It really does, because I want there to be more comic book movies. I really do, and they can make them. There's no doubt in my mind that they can make them. Because you look at the animated movies they've come out with, and the stories are there. The people that know how to make these characters are there, but it's evident that those people don't necessarily have say. Now Tim, who is the guy that is part of most of that animated universe, is apparently been bringing in to kind of coordinate with, but it was after this movie was made, coordinate the Justice League movie. So that's a great and wonderful thing. So, but anyways, those were my problems with the movie. I understand that there were people that liked it. Like I said, I was bored. Bored probably is not the best. I was very just not completely into the movie most of the way. Oh yeah, and the Jonathan Kent thing, I didn't like it I didn't like the bits they showed in the trailer, and then as the movie went on, I liked it less and less. It just did nothing for me. And I've heard people say this was a very cold movie. I wouldn't say it was cold, but it doesn't give you that feeling that Superman should give you. There's a reason why stories like comic book stories, and these are the ones that I would say if you really want to see what Superman is, stories like Birthright, stories like Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which is Alan Moore's kind of ode to Superman when they were getting ready to redo Superman. Let's see, Birthright, to an extent, to an extent All-Star Superman, but All-Star Superman is also very kind of out there and deals. But there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and even though I'm not as big on the book as a lot of other people are. See, even Secret Identity, which is an amazing Superman story, which isn't really a Superman story. It's a very different Superman story, and one that would make an awesome movie. By the way, it would. But you couldn't call it Superman. You'd have to call it yeah, you'd have to call it Secret Identity, and just make it kind of not even let people know what's really about Superman. If you've never read it, I know that's very vague, but it's kind of the way it is. But yeah, so there you go. That's my thoughts on the movie. While I'm glad it made a lot of money, it does bother me because I don't think it was a very good foundation for DC to kind of judge to build everything on. Like I said, this is the movie that should be compared with the first Iron Man, and seeing how that movie propelled what became the Avengers part of the Marvel universe, because Marvel's got, for those of you who don't know, Marvel, Disney and Marvel don't have all the movie rights to their own movies. They had to, X-Men. All of the X-Men characters, 20th Century Fox has. That was the first ones they did. They've got them. Sony has Spider-Man, and I believe 20th Century has some of the Fantastic Four now, I think, and some of the Daredevil stuff. I know Marvel just got some of them back, but so they don't even have their own stuff, so they're not even able to do the entire like they would like to. And here's DC and Warner Brothers, who has all the movie rights to their own stuff, and they can't seem to get anything right. So there you go. But I've rambled on long enough. I just wanted to come on here and say that because there was no way I kind of talked about this on Twitter, but there was no way I was going to be able to talk about all of this on Twitter. So with that, I'm out. Have a good one. Later.